How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm John Robert Cruz, your host and producer for this program. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing a Major League Baseball player scout by the name of Hector Garcia, who has many years of experience as a baseball scout. How you doing, Mr. Garcia?
How are you? How are you, John? How's it going?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Yeah.
You know, we've had some preliminary conversations about doing this interview, and let's just go for it, okay?
Sure.
There's a lot of people out there who love the game of baseball, who play the game of baseball, and there's a lot of people out there who still have that dream of becoming a big league baseball player.
Yes, sure are.
Right?
Billions.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me people are playing baseball in China now?
Yeah, they're starting in China actually now. A friend of mine actually who played in China. He speaks Chinese, a young man, and he's played over there. He was walking through the park one day. He saw some guys throwing a ball, and he went out there. They invited him to play with their club team. So he stood over there. He made good friends. He stayed there for quite a while, and now he's back working in the city.
Are we
Young
talking mainland China?
Mainland China. They have college teams, and they're starting to play baseball in China, where they have a billion. So eventually they're going to come, and they're very good athletes, the Chinese.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I would say that's some Chinese food for thought. What do you think, folks?
It sure is.
Right? Well, listen, Hector, how did you start as a baseball scout?
Basically, when you're going to be a baseball scout, a lot of these jobs is who you know, because it's, and during my career, and as I grew up on Freeman Street in the Bronx, I met up with a good friend of mine, and we grew up together, Danny Monzon, who from Monroe High School, he played in the major leagues with Montreal. He spent about 4 or 5 years in the majors. And he eventually became a scout for the Mets. And as I was retiring from my semi-pro baseball career, he needed somebody to help him out in the city, and he asked me to help him out. And I actually got 2 players, one who got a cup of coffee in the major leagues was Johnny Monell, whose son now, Johnny Monell Jr., was up with the Mets this year, but his father was one guy that I discovered for Danny. And then Hector Barrios, who's now a pitching coach for the Mets in the minor league system. I also helped get that guy. Okay. And then what happened was the scout from the Kansas City Royals was going to be made into a full-time guy. So they were looking for a part-time scout. And Danny recommended me for that job.
And what year was that?
And about 1986.
1986,
yeah.
Great. And so did I recommend it, and then?
And after that, prior to that, I had been helping Danny as a bird dog with the Mets, because he was with the Mets at the time.
Wait a minute, you just said bird dog.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Please tell me and
A
tell
bird
me.
dog is a guy who works for the team, but he's not on salary.
Okay.
You're not getting paid by the team, but you love the game, and you go look for guys, and you say, hey, Danny, I got this kid, come check him out. That's what you do without salary. And it's one way to get your foot in the door. By doing that, which is a lot of guys doing that now. So then I got picked up by the Royals, and I became the part-time scout for the Royals. I was with them for about 17, 18 years.
Okay, that's fantastic.
17, 18 years.
Well, let me ask you, we can go into, different positions, this, that, and the other. But let's say, what do you look for starting off the bat in a hitter?
The first thing you look in the batter is the approach. You want to see how he approaches the plate. Is he coming up there with confidence? How he stands at the plate. You also look for they have to be fearless. Do they stand in the box and challenge the pitcher with no fear? Then of course you look to see how they grip the bat. You don't want to see if their hands are locked up. You want to see that they have nice and loose hands. And then you're going to look for the bat speed. You look for bat speed, and do they take the bat to the ball? A lot of players are just zone swingers, which is they'll always swing in the same spot, and if the ball's down here, they'll still swing up here. And when they catch the ball, they're going to hit it 450 feet. So you want to see if the person is able to take the bat to the ball. Just up here, you take the bat to the ball.
So in other words, if it's an inside pitch, they're going to swing accordingly down the pipe and outside?
If it's an inside pitch, so they're able to open their hips early.
Right.
If they're able to get around on a fastball, and And basically is the bat speed. You want to see that bat speed.
Okay, all
That
right.
bat speed. And if they have bat speed and they can take the bat to the ball, then you can work with that. You can work with that.
Okay, Mr. Garcia. Now let's continue. Let's talk about what do you look for, generally speaking, in infielders. In the future, if I'm not mistaken, you are in the process of having a show put together where you're going to be breaking it down more position specific.
Yes.
But right now, generally speaking, what do you look for in infielders and their skills as fielders?
As far as infielders are concerned, of course, you want to see their glove. Do they have good hands? Are they able to? And you want to look for quickness. I at one time thought that you do need some speed, but a very good scout who signed Rat Carew and Joe Foy, he had like 5 major leaguers. So we're talking about fielders, and there was a kid named in St. John's, Rich Aurelia, and he wasn't really a fast runner. We'd catch him at 4.4. We'll go into that later. 4.3 is major league average from home to first. So he did 4.4, 4.5, and he's played shortstop. So I'm talking to Herbie, and he told me, Hector, what you look for is quickness, because you can be fast and run 60 yards real fast, but you can't go 10 feet. If you can go for 10 yards quick, I may be able to go 10 yards quicker than the guy who runs 6'6" at my age, because whoever it is. But you look for that quickness when they get to the ball, because most balls are not going to be hit 60 yards on an infielder. So you're going to be moving maybe 20 yards one way at the most. So you're looking for quickness. And of course, it depends on, you want to have the arm. A lot of people think that a second baseman, the weakest arm should be at second. I differ, because when you make a double play, a lot of times you make that snap throw, and you need a strong arm, because you can't get set and plant your feet. So you're looking for a strong arm. Of course, shortstop and third base, you need that hose, you need that arm. So in the major leagues, you need to have a major league arm. And we can go into the grading system later, which is from a 2 to 8. 5 being major league average. So you're looking at least for a 5 arm. It has to have a major league average arm.
Now we're talking infield now, right?
Infield, and a plus arm. A plus arm is preferable. And if you have a 6 or a 7 arm, then you're really getting up there, because you have to throw these guys out, and these guys can fly in the major league. So you can't spend time with the ball in different positions. There's one thing that a lot of people said that Cano, he looked nonchalant. He wasn't nonchalant. I think he just defined the game, how to play second base. Easy. He made everything look so easy that people thought he wasn't hustling.
Food for thought, right?
He just did everything so easy and so effortless. And a lot of people were all over him for that. They said, no, he's just so good. Sort of like Joe DiMaggio. He would go and glide under a ball. Where Willie Mays would be like, and DiMaggio would be like, nice and easy. It's different strokes. It works, but I think he got a lot of criticism for that.
Food for thought. I thank you for enlightening me on that, because I remember reading a lot of complaints about him.
Yeah, he just made it look easy, so people thought he wasn't working.
Amazing.
He made it look easy.
Let me ask you, now what do you look for, generally speaking, in an outfielder in terms of fielding?
You can deal with a guy not being. Matter of fact, a lot of teams hide a guy in left field, as you saw in the recent playoffs when that kid from Chicago, they hit him in left field because he could hit. But when it comes to this 3 different spots in right field, if you look at historically, right field, you got to have a hose.
You mean an arm?
An arm. You got to have an arm. If you're going to play right field, you got to have an arm. And that's why I don't know why the Mets keep Anderson at right field and don't put Cespedes, who's got the best arm, in left field. So you get a lot of guys going from first to third on Granderson, where when you had Carl Furillo, Rocky Colavito, Reggie Jackson, you go on every right fielder, Darrell Evans, Roberto Clemente, everybody play right field has that arm, so keep guys from going from first to third. Center field, of course, you need that speed. You look at most teams, the fastest guy on that team is the center fielder. Why? Because they have to back up everything.
And Granderson was a center fielder.
And he was a center fielder, yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah. Left field, you got to hit. And right field also you have to hit. Those are the power spots. All corner spots you have to hit.
Right.
Third base, first base, right field, left field. That's where you look for the juice, looking for power.
Okay.
And left field, you can keep your guy with the weakest arm because it's a shorter throw.
It's a shorter throw.
Shorter throw. So you put your weakest arm there, and basically that's what you look for. And of course, hitting. Bats play. If you can hit, they got to find a spot to put you.
Food for thought.
They put a spot. They got to find a way to put you.
So tell me, what do you look for in a catcher, basically?
Catcher, of course, you want to be able to look for, at a young age, you're looking for that arm. You're looking for the arm, and if the kid can block pitches, is he able to receive the ball well? Does he frame the ball? But usually a catch, if somebody has an arm, you can teach a kid how to catch, but he has to have that arm. You need an arm to throw. And of course, we put the clock on them, the pop time, what you call pop time, and you want to see if they can get that under two. So you can, if they're under 2 at 16, 17, 18, you can work with them, eventually get them down to 1-9 on the pop. Pop time being as soon as the ball hits the glove, he gets rid of it as soon as it hits the glove at second base. So that's pop, throw, pop. That's how you clock the guy. And he has to have it on the arm. The throw has to have carry. You don't want to see the catcher throw from back here, because the longer they are, they have what you call is a long armor. Right. So you want to catch it to go short.
Quick release.
Quick release, because the shorter you go, the longer you go, you're giving the guy that extra 1/100th of a second. If you go from here quick, then you're short. So you want to see that they go short. But these are things you can always teach somebody in the minor leagues. If you have a good minor league system where they have good training, but he's got to have some size, of course,
right,
and he's got to have that arm, and he's got to be able to want to put his body into the ball and block everything that comes at him. So
okay.
you want to see that. And of course now you also want to see a little power, because in the major leagues you want your catcher to have at least 15, 16 home runs in the major leagues.
Right.
You don't get too many guys who are only going to give you maybe 1 or 2 home runs, unless they're super excellent defense. Sort of like what was the guy that Tony Pena, right? He wasn't that good a hitter. He was all right. He wasn't a power hitter, but his defense, really helped him along, carried him. And if you can get both, like Pudge and Johnny Benson, you got yourself a Hall of Famer.
Pudge, what's his real name? That was his nickname. I forgot his real name.
Rodriguez. The heck is his first name? We'll think about it as it comes along. We'll think of it. I know him as Pudge.
I'll either leave it there or I'll edit it out. But either way.
Ivan Rodriguez.
Ivan Rodriguez.
Ivan Rodriguez.
Okay.
That's the guy.
Let's talk about pitchers. What do you look for in a prospect, a pitching prospect?
The first thing you want to see when you go see a pitcher is velocity.
Speed.
Because you can't teach that. You can't teach that. Unless you see a young man with a body that is hitting 87, 88, and you figure he's 16, 17, 19 now, maybe by the time he's 21 you can get him up to it. But if he's throwing that type of velocity, he's got to have something else. A curveball. You also want to see command. If you want to see if the catcher puts the glove there, does he hit the glove? A lot of times, I saw a couple of kids, they're throwing, matter of fact, this guy's all home now, throwing 95. They got rid of him in the major, from the minors. Because the catcher puts the ball here, the glove here, and the ball's over here. You need command of the fastball. They have to have command of the fastball. But it depends also at what age you catch them. When they're a college guy who's 20, 21, basically what you see is what you're going to get. He's going to get better. maybe, a little bit better. But you see a kid at 18, 19 who's got that type of ability, and you know he's going to get stronger, he's going to become more of a man, and you'll be able to project. So you have to project a lot with a pitcher.
Right.
Which is the toughest part about being a scout, is projecting. Because you got to look at an 18-year-old kid and try to figure out what he's going to look like when he's 24 or when he's 21, 22. But if they have that velocity, then it's already there. So, it's like when I saw when Dylan Betances, from Grand Street campus, I know Dylan since he's like 13, 14, 15 years old. And he always had that type of velocity. And then
what's the velocity that, okay, let's say you see somebody at 16 years old. At 16, what velocity makes you go,
Well, Major League average fastball, these days, when I first started, it was from 87 to 89 was Major League average. Now, Major League average fastball, which is have different guns, which we can go into later, with the jugs. When we were there, it was with the ray gun. So, Major League average was 87, 89. Could hit 90, 92. You had some. Now, Major League average is as far as what they want to see on the new radar guns that they have is 92 to 93, 91 to 93. That's a Major League average fastball. So if you see a kid 18 and he's already giving you 89, 90, then you can figure by the time he's 20, 21, he's going to get it up to 92, 93. So you project. You start projecting. And if he's got another pitch, like a big curveball, like when I saw Steve Garcia had a curveball from head to head. Big curveball. So he had a pretty good career. Jason Marquis was already throwing an average fastball in high school. Dellin was throwing an above average fastball in high school. So these are guys who are special. So you can project that these guys will probably get to the majors. Then you see some other guys that don't have it. And then later you see them, they're in the major leagues. They got this for some reason. I'll tell you, Pedro Bolbon Jr. was at Clinton High School. And man, he stuck around. Nobody really was signing him. Danny signed him eventually for the Chicago White Sox. He went down there and he had a good season. They brought him up and he became a lefty specialist.
He's playing now?
No, he's not playing anymore. And he's retired. And he was throwing 82, 83, 84. But he had a big curveball and he can get lefties out. He made
Specialist.
He became a lefty specialist, throwing a 79, 80 mile crack. When Barry Bonds would come to bat in a key situation, they bring in Pedro. But if they left him against the righties,
they tee off on him.
They took him out right away.
And he was a specialist.
He was a lefty specialist.
And he would throw the timing off. Right?
He had that curveball, and he used to wreck guys' times. Lefties. He was nasty with lefties.
Oh.
And he was doing the same thing in the majors that he was doing in high school. As a matter of fact, Kennedy High School used to beat the crap out of him, which I later found out that they were stealing signs from somebody.
Food
If
for
you can
thought.
take that out.
Right.
We would have to put that. But he was a lefty specialist, and you can't project that. And also, he was the son of a former major leaguer.
Right.
Pedro Bolbon Sr., who played with Cincinnati.
He was a great player.
He
was a reliever himself, wasn't he?
Yes, but being the fact that he had, of course it helped because, everybody looks for the bloodline.
Right.
So Danny stuck with him.
It can't hurt, right?
Yeah, it can't hurt. So just like right now, Mariano Rivera's son just got drafted up from at Iona College.
Right.
And
as a pitcher?
As a pitcher, yeah. And he was throwing, this year we're hitting 90, 92, he was up there. And he probably would have got drafted anyway. He got drafted in the late rounds. But it helped a lot that he was Mariano's son.
Can't hurt.
And he can play though. He can pitch. We'll see what how he comes along, how he progresses.
Very good. Talking about speed, what is considered fast for a lefty batter from home plate to first base?
The way we time them, and as soon as they make contact as soon as the ball touches the bat, we start the clock. So for a righty, It's 4.3 is average speed.
A righty
A
batter.
righty batter. For a lefty, it's 4.2 because they got that
A little closer.
So if you see somebody that's doing 4.3, he's a 5 runner, average. 5 is average. And if he's a lefty, he's running 4.2, he's a 5 runner, 4.2. Now you get a guy running 4.1, so he may probably a 6 runner for a lefty.
Who's the fastest you've ever encountered, either in the big leagues or as a scout, whatever? From lefty to
I
first.
went one time to a Yankee game and Ricky Henderson was up and he was hitting a ground ball or a double play ball where he's really going to bust his chops moving to first. He did 3.8. 3.8.
Wow.
That's how fast Ricky was. 3.8.
And the fastest.
So now you're talking about 4.1 being a 5. So what's 3.8?
What is it?
That's an 8. He's a 9 runner, and that's above the charts.
Is there something?
Which is why he stole.
Who's a 10?
He was a 10, yeah. Which
right.
is why he stole over 1,000 bases.
Right,
you know?
right.
Then getting back to runners, usually if you get a guy with skinny legs, which is I can see what's happening with the Yankee guy. A player that counts on his legs, that's a leg player, sort of like Ellsbury, the Yankee center fielder. Jacoby, he's a leg guy. He lives with his legs. That's why he was always hurt with his legs, because he's got skinny legs. But if you see guys like Tim Raines, who could run, and Ricky Henderson, the guys who last, the leg guys that last, usually got
strong legs.
Big, strong legs. Big, strong legs.
For thought. Let me ask you this. For the person that has not been drafted, but they have talent,
Yeah.
they still have open tryouts?
Open tryouts all the time. As a matter of fact, I had an open tryout one time, and there was this young man who was putting the ball over the fence, the Field of Dreams, over at the boys' club over by Stevenson High School. And I wrote to the office that I want to sign this kid. I wanted to sign him because he was ready to play. And they said, well, talk to your boss, because as a part-time guy, I wasn't able to sign players, but you needed to bring your boss in and look at the kid. So I called my boss, come in, you got to get this kid. This guy can run, he ran a 6'8", he can do this, he can that, he's got a major league arm, and he's got major league power. And he's just walking, he's running on the streets, he's just playing in all these leagues, and I found him.
Right.
So the guy says, well, I just got fired. Kansas City Royals just fired me, so do what you want to do. So I'm calling the office again. I want to sign this kid. I should have signed him and told them the office the heck with it. I should have went and did it, because some guys have done that. And I had the contract. So then I'm sitting and I'm waiting to see who was going to be the new guy. Nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. Finally, my good friend Caesar Presbot, who also knew about the kid, but out of respect for me, he didn't pull the trigger on the kid, because he was waiting to see what I was going to do, because he knew he was my guy, right? So, Hector, what are you going to do, Hector? You know, says, he also worked the kid out. The kid ran 7'1". So he said, Hector, what are you going to do? You told me he ran 6'8". He said, I got him at 6'8", 6'7". He's got a pulled hamstring. So he said, so, well, you're going to sign him? And I said, well, I want to. Give me a day or two. Keep calling the office. They didn't want to do nothing. So he called me a couple of days later. Hector, what are you going to do? I said, Caesar, I don't want to hold the kid back. Sign him. Go ahead. You got him. It's all, you know. To this day, Caesar gets the credit for that. And fine, good, he's got it. But that was my guy. But I couldn't do anything with him. The kid was John Rodriguez. He played with Cleveland. He played with Atlanta.
Well, basically, I'm going to start wrapping this up, but I want you to tell our viewing audience, because a lot of them out there have that dream, or parts of families where they have family members that have that dream. I would like for you to give them just a little word of encouragement, not to necessarily give up, to have some hope. You word it any way you want to. Let them know.
If you're 21, 22, and under, you still got a shot.
Right.
After a certain age, unless you're a pitcher and all of a sudden at the age of 24, 25, you start throwing 95, 97, it's kind of hard. So you have to look at the age and never give up hope. But it gets to a certain age where, but also if you're really good, they have a lot of independent leagues
Right.
And if you can get into an independent league, you can go out there, but you have to go out there and tear that league up.
Yeah, destroy it.
You have to go out there and destroy that league.
Right.
You just can't go out there and be a 250 hitter. You got to go, let's say, if you get hooked up like in the Can-Am League, the Rockland Boulders, you can go to have tryouts, and they usually get college guys who then get drafted. And a lot of guys that got drafted then got cut loose.
Right.
And guys who played in the minors and then got cut loose. And they also have tryouts, and they have some guys who never got drafted who are on the team. But those guys that never got drafted are on the team. They got to go over there and just rack that league. You got to go rack it up. You got to win Triple Crown, and you got to show tools.
You got to show some serious tools.
The tools.
Well, anyway, Mr. Garcia, I want to take the time to really thank you for being here and giving us this very educational interview for the viewing audience who love the game of baseball, and a lot of them out there still want to be baseball players. Guys, don't give up. Anyway.
Yep, stay with it.
Anyway, so listen, I want to thank you.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're also in the process of, you should be having a television show yourself on New York City area cable and also the internet, talking about scouting more specifically, right?
Yes, yes. And basically what I want to do, a lot of these kids who are really good don't get exposure, and some scouts don't know about them. So what I want to do is go out, watch games, and look for the best player on each team, see if they have any kind of major league tools.
Right.
Because basically you're looking for the tools.
Right, right.
You gotta have the tools. If they have anybody with the tools, I will have a show where I will feature the young man and so the scouts can know about them and maybe come take a peek at them.
All right, folks, so you be on the lookout for that. And thank you for watching. This is John Robert Cruz signing out. Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Take care, folks. See you next episode.